Good evening. I'm Astrologer Val Evans. Thanks for joining me tonight. We are talking about Idaho 4, the Idaho 4 case, and unanswered questions that linger since the murders took place in November 2022 at an off campus house in Moscow, Idaho. What was the motive for killing four innocent college students from the University of Idaho? Why doesn't the roommate story add up? What are we not being told? And could Brian Koberger have the signature of a hitman in his birth chart? Tonight, we're going to take a look and add some midpoint clues that we see in the crime chart. I'll also compare the crime chart and Koberger's birth chart to a notorious contract killer. And his name is Gerard Gallant, born in 1950. So you may not remember, but in one of my first shows after the murders, it was a few days after, you could see how a man named Brian wrote in. And I believe he said, when I was wondering if the murderer had help in the crime, he wrote, he acted alone. Just gives me chills thinking about it. Now, who knows if this was the Brian Koberger, but if there was a contract behind this, it would explain why we keep seeing a group. And by the way, there has been no Brian who has written into this show since. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. Natalie's here, Meg, Kelly, Gibson's here from Cincy, and thanks for coming in. Chrissy's here. Meg, RI housewife, Rhode Island housewife. Thank you, Angel D, for moderating. Glad you could be with us, and thank you so much for all your help. And I will get started here. I haven't really talked about the hitman angle, but I've been thinking about it. In fact, I was focused mostly on the roommates for this one, as you can tell. But just more and more stuff has been coming up. So we're going to look at a few clues tonight. Thank you, Kelly. And Linda's here. Nice to see you, Linda. Linda, you sent me a great article today about, I guess there was funding that was pulled. It was the university, and there was a big agricultural contract that was pulled. So that was in the news today. And hello, Jen. All right, so let me get to, actually just wanted to mention one thing real quick. I've got a members only video. It's going to be dropping in the next couple of days. What's in Elizabeth Hurley's head? That's what I want to know. So we're going to look at her solar return chart for this year, see where Billy Ray is, see what she's doing, because I'd like to know. So I hope you can check that out if you're a member. And this is Gerard. He is notorious. He killed many, many people. This is a little bit different than maybe one type of one-off crime, but I thought it might be interesting quickly to look at a contract killer's chart. So here is Gerard Gallant's birth chart. And you can't help but notice, and we've seen this in the Idaho case as well as some of the birth charts that we've discussed, that we look at Algol all the time on this chart and on this show, and Algol is 26 degrees Taurus. So you can see Mercury, which is your mindset. It's what you're thinking about. And unfortunately, it's a bit corrupted here. It's retrograde. It's on Algol. And for him, it's squaring Jupiter in the 8th house. So, 8th house is lots and lots of killing. So I believe it in, this is a strange comparison, but with Elizabeth Taylor and some of my shows that I've posted here, she had Jupiter, I think it was in the 7th house, which means many husbands. So here it's, and just because Jupiter is in your 8th house doesn't necessarily mean that you are a contract killer, but there is a square here to Algol. So it's all part of his formula. So that's the first thing. We see Algol here, and it's it's pretty it's pretty strong, because of the stellium, which is 3 planets or more. Keep in mind, too, that we've got Black Moon Lilith in the middle of all of this, part of the sun, his ego, his drive, and also his mindset. So he Black Moon Lilith is lawlessness. It's, just this wild energy. The other thing we have here that, is very close to the Idaho 4 case is we have sheet here, and that can show tragedies, and certainly were a lot in his life. He caused them. So we're looking at 29 degrees Pisces there. And then we've got Neptune in Libra. Got a couple of Libra placements here. And Libra, often it can mean beauty, it can mean music, it can mean law. But remember, it can also mean marriage, and it also means a contract, meaning he would be a contract killer. With Neptune in here, this could be secret contracts. And Neptune also represents, it means criminal. So it can mean criminal, especially retrograde. So he had a couple of retrogrades there that really did him in. Now, here is the photo of, I don't even like to look at it, of Brian Koberger. And when they released this photo, it made me think, why would he put the thumbs up? Was he saying that he completed a job? That's what I thought when I saw that. So I'm interested to see what you guys think. Now, we're going to look at Koberger's birth chart. And I know, gallant. It's true. Hello, Peanut Shell. Nice to see you. Yes, and Soda Pop's here. Um, very good. Yes, I approve of that. Brenda, nice to see you. All right. Yes, welcome everyone. For those of you who have never seen this channel, we just break down charts. We try to get clues. I try not to make it too complicated, so don't get too scared when I say midpoints. It's just going to be a few clues. You're not going to get a whole lesson on midpoints. It's a whole discipline in itself. So, um, right, Angel. Okay, so, well, I hope your YouTube recovers there. So here is Brian Koberger's chart. Let me just move this down here a second. Okay, and whoa, are you seeing what I am seeing here? His second house of where he gets his money. Hello. And look at where Black Moon Lilith is. Conjunct Algol. Gibson, you're so nice. Thank you so much. Yes. It's so amazing seeing these solar return charts, and I think you're going to be very intrigued. And thank you, by the way, to all of the new members. Samantha, Christina, welcome. It's great to have you. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah. There is, it's just like the O.J. Simpson case. There were a lot of people who didn't think O.J. did it. And I've gotten quite a bit of flack online for thinking that, I mean, I do have faith in law enforcement. So it would be very, very hard to bring in somebody completely, unrelated to this case. So, yeah, Chrissy, what's your honest opinion about BK in this case? I do see all docs in this case, and state really do not have much. This makes me crazy. Yeah, I think they've got enough. I do. I think they got enough. They've got DNA. They've got opportunity. I don't know if they have motive yet. Follow the money is what I say. And hello, Ample Spark. Nice to see you. So hear me out here. We've got Black Moon Lilith, which if you've never been to this channel, I talk about it a lot because it tends to be the force that plus Algol. Now here we've got it together in the second house, and it is in Taurus. So there is some devious ways of making money that you could see in his chart. Now, I rectified his chart, so this might not be his second house, but I believe it is because the ascendant is your name, Coburger, which is Aries. Also, he had an anger problem. So, and there's a square from Aries, from the ascendant to the moon, which would make you kind of an angry person. But also, we have this T square here, where we've got, something that has to do with money. This is murder. And we have something in Leo here, Mars and Leo. That's a weapon on King Street. So, Leo, of course, representing the word king. By the way, I've seen this more and more and more, and I'm just going to say it. Whenever you see a name with a K that starts with a K, could be Kennedy, could be Coburger, could be somebody's name is Kelly. If you see that K, you're going to be seeing Leo energy, K for king. And you're going to just be seeing those Leo themes. All right. So, yes, why would we care about this? Because second house is how you make money. You're going to see the second house lit up in a certain way with hitmen. If they make their money a certain way, then they're able to commit crimes. Now, his Venus, which is the way he would make his money, is retrograde. So again, we're seeing retrogrades, and let's see. Yeah, it's actually famous here. The famous way he made money. Why is it famous? Because anything trining the moon is fame. This is the public. And so they are able to see his crime that included females. But it could be all secretive. It could have something to do with making money. So there it is. Black Moon Lilith on Algol, 1 degree. All right, if you're looking at your own solar return chart and you want to make your own predictions, you want to go to your last birthday year. So if you were born in November, December, you're still October, whatever, it's going to still be 2024 until you have your birthday. And then you're going to click the solar only tab. You're not going to be looking at your solar and birth chart. All right, so here is Brian Koberger's solar return chart for the murders. And I'm just going to look at the chat real quick. Yeah, I know. And I wonder if it has to do with part of that group. So yes, there could be a target for someone with a Scorpio background, but maybe it has to do more with who's lusting over whom. And it could be quite a big group of people who are maybe seeing them online, the victims. I know that BML on Algol is wild. It certainly is. So I know. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Angel. Sadly, the autopsies and crime scene pics will reveal a lot more about the brutality, in my honest opinion. And that little bio that I was reading for Gerard, he was focused on the neck. He would kill, and that's the Algol area. So I'm sure we're going to probably be seeing that when it comes to what was, the wounds and the autopsy. Hello, Star Sleuth. Nice to see you. All right, so now we are just kind of looking first at the solar return chart. We're warming up to the midpoints, and also we're going to do some cards too. All right. All right, so this is Brian Koberger's solar return chart. It started, we would look at his 2021, even though the murders happened in 2022, because it would turn into 2022 in his 2021 solar return chart. And so this was around the time, interestingly, around the Regulus area of King. This represents King. So King was going to come in this last month for him. And so the sun is activating in this month of the murders. And so you see a big, big, big group of people. But back up for a second. Let's look at his second house for the year of the crimes. And the second house is right in Libra, which represents a contract. And Mercury is right in here in the third house, in this little group, the stellium. So it looks like with with South Node there. South Node can show people in despair. Uh, it can show wanting to purge something. It doesn't look like they're able to in some way because it looks like it's stuck. And whenever I say that something is stuck, it's because of the nodes here. Something is not happening, something is not moving forward. And that's the node right here. And then the node is in here. So we're talking, I mean, this is an eclipse. This is eclipse energy. This is really the nodes or the eclipses. This is really, really strong. But also notice that the sixth house represents his work. Okay. Um, so what is his work? Well, Jupiter is teaching, teacher's aid, or what have you. But he is Uranus. I think that there is also some other work that he could potentially be doing. And let me do this. There's a trine to Venus in Capricorn. So he's able to make money somehow. I think that it absolutely could be by being paid to do this. That photograph, it just really made me think that it makes sense. So Mercury rules the chart. Mercury's here, and the sun, keep in mind, represents the month that the murders occurred. So it's all, this is a very, very important month. What's weird with the South Node is that it can show, uh, it can mean purging. So here's Neptune up here, and that is a photo. It's lots and lots. I mean, you've never seen so many photos. And so that's here, keeping in mind that the seventh house represents contracts. So Neptune in the seventh would be a contract or a secret contract. And also, the seventh house Lord represents customers and partners. So these are secret partners, and it's all right here. So, but who is he? Who is he this year? How do we identify that? Well, we go to Mercury. Mercury's right here in Scorpio. What's on his mind? His mind is full of scorpionic energy, which is murder. So it's really interesting too that the trine goes to Neptune. Neptune can show disappear, but it can also show that there would be a photo that was very, very important that was going to come out that he would take. And where would that photo be? It would be in a Neptunian place in front of the shower. Okay, there's the contract right there. So, some of the questions I have tonight: who is lying? Why would the roommates be angry? Are the roommates working? What valuable is being taken? And is there a hitman clue? So, we already saw a little bit of the hitman clue. And if he did make a lot of money from this tragedy, which is a possibility, I think, where is the money? So we're going to go back to the crime chart. And of course, the crime chart is the timestamp of the crime. I put it at 4, might have been a little bit before or after that, but I'm just thinking it probably happened 4 and change. Shauna, you said that. Yes. Oh my God, I had that same thought. And I came in as you said that 4 higher. And Shauna, you are amazing with some of your thoughts that you share with me. Really amazing. So, um, Chrissy, you said, do you think there was at almost 2 in the unalivings? You mean more than one person? Well, I've always seen a group, but when I talked to a really good psychic the other day, I mean, I talked to a bunch, and clairvoyance and whatnot. She was really convinced that it was just one person. So I thought, how could I get a group? And this sure would explain it. So haven't they recently decided against using all those bank accounts they had searched? I hope not. I hope not, because that's where there's going to be some information. And I think also, and we've been seeing this in mundane events, we've been seeing how, the signal chat, we're seeing secret communications, and there's some definite secret communications here. All right, so let me just move this along here. Oops, hold on. Make this a little big bigger? Okay. All right. So this is the crime chart. And what do you know? It starts the ascendant, giving the personality of the crime in Libra. So for a long time, we were thinking Libra, could that mean a relationship? Could that mean, somebody in law school? Could it mean a marriage? Somebody married who's involved? But Libra really does, from a basic standpoint, it's a contract. So let's take a look at where Venus is. And Venus is down here in the second house. So this is a valuable contract, a valuable murder contract. What you could say, I would think. You might be able to say. All right, so let's go to the roommates for a little bit. I was thinking today that whole thing is kind of weird too. We're not getting the answers that we need. The dog was barking. We know that the neighbors were hearing things. So why wouldn't the roommates have not only heard, but why wouldn't they have acted? So um, here is the crime chart, and I highlighted where the roommates are. Now, if you're going to look at your own chart, whether it's the solar return chart, usually you're going to look at your solar return chart if you're looking at your roommates, and you're going to look in the third house and the third house lord. And so interesting how um, right here, Jupiter Neptune is just uh, doesn't look good because retrograde, you got two planets who are retrograde. You have two people, okay, who are the roommates. So usually with planets, if you're going to see two, you're going to see two planets, you're going to see two people. One might have, Neptune at 22 degrees and Jupiter at 28. Well, at the very least, it looks like they were going to say something about sleeping or being in a dreamlike state. So you could definitely see that would come out there. And of course, we're going to see all their pictures, and it would be a flood, Neptune, of pictures. So this, we can get a bunch of stuff from this. They were sleeping, they were drunk, they were taking photos. There were feet pics. There were, and this might not be the roommates who we're talking about now. Could be one of the roommates of the entire group. We saw dream state, but the roommates are working. Does that make sense? I think it might, because the sixth house is to work, and there's Neptune in the fifth. It might make sense that one of them was working. So I guess I should pull a card here. Have you guys thought about that at all? Could one of them been working? It was 4 a.m. I still say this could be traced back to a fraternity sorority event, maybe like a keg party. Maybe that's how everybody is connected because they were in the house previously, pay the door fee to get in. Yeah, and I'm going to get to that too because there's some things that would back that up. Shauna, you said, I haven't paid much attention to this stuff except for what is in my newsfeed. Now, in the beginning with you and Todd, I did 100. When I see your post today, I thought murder for hire for first time. I know. So it might start making sense. Government or outlaw contract. Maybe there could have been some scorpionic things. It could have been simply a business type of thing where we want those people out. We want people out of that house. Yeah, Angel, pay to watch. So yeah, that's the next thing. And we're going to get to that question next. But right now, I'm going to ask with regard to the roommates, and we're going to ask Spirit and Tarot, was one of the victims, at least surviving victims, was she doing some kind of work to make money? Okay, this is the sun reversed. So I don't know if you can see that. My other camera's not working. So the sun reversed. That's weird. Whoops. I don't know if you can see that. Um, Sun reversed, and so maybe not working, but I still think there's a work type of theme there. Maybe she wasn't working then. Maybe she actually was. Maybe they were just partying. But can you give us some kind of clue as to why we're seeing work in this chart? And sixth house can also mean stalkers too. But why are we seeing sixth house of work? Queen of Wands reversed. So we've gotten that before. Queen of Wands reversed. So a couple of women there, a couple of women. Now, I'm going to have to think about that. So, Jen, who would be paying Koberger if he was a hitman? That's a good question. Let's get a profile of who would be a contract, who would enter into a contract with the alleged murderer, Brian Koberger. Who would it be? What would he look like? Three of Cups. So, this could be a group of girls. Looks like a party ended. So let me get another clarifying card. With regard to a hit, give us some kind of clarifier on who this could potentially be, who might have ordered a hit on this group. Looks like maybe a young man. This could be a young man. This is Page of Cups. Looks like a frat guy. Okay. All right. So let me put these back in. And Soda Pop, you might be onto something. Now, the 11th house is fraternities. And in this chart, look at where it is. It's on King Street. It's right on Regulus, 11th house cusp. So that is telling me something. And also the sun is really ruling the frat parties, and it's in the second house there. So there is a group there of potentially frat boys or fraternity people who are with Black Moon Lilith up at the top there. They're not very nice people. You would think. It would seem. All right. So I didn't really get anything really strong about the roommates are working, but there does seem to be some kind of maybe background where there's Piscean types of themes when it comes to work. And I also got the roommates are angry. And the reason I got that is because here is Jupiter, which represents one roommate, and there's two roommates here. Piscean qualities. By the way, what did they do? Usually when you see Pisces, they're going to be people who appear and disappear. And so, we didn't see them. We didn't hear them. They've got secrets. They are quiet. They went away, at least, for a few years, really, until maybe we're going to hear from them again. But you can see how there's a square to Mars, and it looks as if there's either some kind of friction with someone, but usually with a square with Mars. This is anger. This can be somebody who's very angry. So what I'd like to do, and that's in the ninth house of somebody who's far away. It could be Koberger himself because it is the seventh house lord. Or it could be that he couldn't see them, because when you have sometimes a square with Pisces, it's like they're invisible. You cannot see them. So, which is the case. But I still think that there could be some kind of clue about anger. What do you guys think? Jen, good one. Drug dealer, cups equal substances. Yeah. Because we've been going back and forth over the years. We see so much addiction, drugs, drinking, that kind of theme. Yet we see that lust, and we see so much Scorpio is jealousy and sexual types of things. Ample, you said this. I think this is a hit. That's why they didn't know if a person was a target or the house was a target. It's possible. Yeah. Shawnee said, this is so wild. Feet only. Oh my God. Why am I remembering that crazy tarot lady saying it was the faculty lady? Yeah. There's a lot of things. I was just remembering how everyone was saying there was a report, I think, about Koberger wearing gloves while I went grocery shopping. Of course, I mean, it was in the wintertime, so it's hard to really say. I mean, if it was, in July, that would be a different story. But yeah, hiding stuff at night work. Yeah, maybe. Yes, Angel, thank you. All alleged opinions, purely discussing what we see in the chart. Okay. Um, could you look into Brett Payne? It's a good question. I'm not going to do that in this show, but we can definitely do that. Soda Pop, you said, and maybe someone's selling some type of drug, probably weed. And you say that there's so much weed in this chart. Oh my God, with all of that Taurus. Taurus is weed. And it looks like a gain of weed. You're going to look at the North Node for that, which is the horseshoe looking planet right in Taurus there. And whoa, this looks like a lot of weed. So I think drugs are still a central part of this. This could be, like everybody says, they could have gotten into trouble for getting into somebody's territory. So I get this really bad feeling Koberger was getting hazed, like he was compelled to do something to get into the frat, kind of like the Skulls 2000 movie with Paul Walker and Joshua Jackson. Yeah, maybe. Shawnee said, I think he's 100% guilty, but so much more to this. My opinion. And the other BK guy is just wild too, the military guy. It's all wild. And so weird that BK represents Burger King, like, and we've talked about this before, but Co-Burger and then King as in King Street. And then that there would be two people who would be caught up in crime within the same, 8 weeks, I guess, with problems with their roommates or people who you would consider roommates. Not that these were roommates of Brian Koberger's, but there was that theme, kind of in Moscow. Keeping in mind, Neptune also means Moscow. It represents that town. Yeah, I know. Me too, Angel. I need to see everything the jury will see first. All right. So now, I did want to pull a card. What could the roommates be angry about? What could they possibly have been angry about? Roommates, what were they angry about? Oh, High Priestess. Sometimes that means the truth. So this could also give us some kind of profile that it was a female, maybe an older female, maybe with red hair. And tell us more about the profile of, and interesting how red hair sometimes that can show Mars. So it could mean someone with red hair. Mercury. And Mercury rules that ninth house is in the second house. So it does represent money, absolutely represents money. High Priestess, can you give us a little bit more of a profile of why they were angry? Why were the roommates angry? I mean, we don't know if they are, but for entertainment purposes only, why were the roommates angry? 9 of Swords reversed. So, trying to move on from something. Maybe it's possible that that's the state they were in, the 9 of Swords, during this tragedy, and they were, obviously angry and upset about it. Could have been simply that. But one more card as to who in this crime chart was really angry. 9 of Pentacles. Again, female. It has to do with money. So, yeah, this could open up a lot of political types of things, because if you're getting information about, there being some kind of drug element, there's going to be secrets that are revealed, which not everybody wants. And so here is the chart for, well, this is the crime chart, but you've got Black Moon Lilith up here. You've got the second house of Scorpio, which can be stealing other people's things. This could be people in the rental. So Jupiter, they seem to have a lot of maybe resources, Piscean resources. And so this is all in here. And it might make sense because of that moon way up at the top. This is somebody who really wants maybe some kind of revenge, wants something. I wasn't even thinking that it might be a female behind, although we did actually get this clue that there was a female that Koberger might have known, or the alleged, I should say, suspect. So we also have, remember, we have a photo here. And the moon is a famous photo. The second house is, getting paid for something. And it makes me think that this photo was kind of proof that the job might be done. It's possible. Why would he have taken that photo? I mean, for himself? But again, there's going to be some secret communications here. And Jupiter plus Neptune, this rules the third house of communications. And looks like there's a lot. Looks like it's way, way underground. And with Mars, you can also, that can represent the police. And that square there, it doesn't look like they can get to the secret communication. They can't, but guess who can? The witnesses have something. So we might be seeing some secret communications that the witnesses were, and there looks like a lot. Let me tell you what, these secret communications we haven't seen yet. We've seen maybe a couple of them, right? A couple of screenshots. This looks like it's going to be a flood. We're looking at a flood of secret communications here. So we're going to be seeing some type of narrative here. All right. And so what's going through this crime chart is this T-square, which we always look at in any chart. We want to see where the problem is, the challenge. And what do we have? We have two people, Saturn at 18, and we have part of fortune at 22. These are two very dangerous people that decided, and you can see I put 2 here, decided they were going to what? Strike. And they were going to strike in the house. And what's all this? It's weed. So it's possible. It's very possible that there's some kind of, weed element. So I just put these questions here again, just to remind myself. We already did the angry one, the working. Okay. Is there someone, one of the witnesses, is there someone who is lying? That's what I'd like to ask. Lying to the police about what happened. 3 of Swords. Somebody who was in a lot of pain. Maybe 3 people. Sometimes. And look, wow, look at the girl, kind of a brunette there. What is the lie? What's the big lie in this case? The big lie in this case. The Empress. Well, that's new. The Empress. Something has to do with, we wouldn't call it a pregnancy, right? Although Scorpio does represent pregnancy. So I wonder if we're going to be seeing, and we already did see the sister giving birth. Remember, it was right after. I knew we were going to see some kind of pregnancy, but we might see more evidence about a pregnancy. Can you tell us more about this clue that has to do with a pregnancy? King of Cups. Maybe somebody that's older. Wonder if he was married. So those are some new clues. Very interesting. All right, so I just wanted to quickly get a profile of the roommates. What I did was I was just thinking about this real hard. I think it was yesterday, and instead of the way that you do a horror is you ask a question, but you don't always have to ask a question. All I did was just say I didn't ask any specific question. Just said roommates, and then I drew the time. So interesting how we're at 29 degrees. You're not really supposed to look at these charts because it means it's kind of finished. But I still like to look at it. And interestingly enough, 29 degrees in Scorpio represents that there's about to be, this is the end of a period. We're about to move into a new period. Usually, when you get an anaretic degree, it's like, okay, we're going to come into the Sag period now, which is, of course, the courts. But the 29th degree of Scorpio also represents astrology, too, which is kind of interesting. Now, we're going to look at the chart ruler. So the ruler of Scorpio is Pluto down here, and that's right on the third house of the rental. So murder in the rental, that's how you could see that. And a murder that was very successful as well. It's hard to talk about. But then we've got this T square running through there. And of course, we have the energy of Black Moon Lilith as part of this lawlessness, just being wild, crazy, uncontrollable. And in Scorpio, it could be jealous. So, but interesting, what is Scorpio? Scorpio is pregnancy. And when you have Pluto, and it has to do with either Uranus or Aquarius, it can mean um, wanting someone to have an abortion. So, and it may explain why there was so much um, violence. I believe it was in that region of one of the victims, the Scorpio region, the reproductive system. So what's really intriguing to me in this chart is that you have that Black Moon Lilith energy, yet what you want to do sometimes is you want to see where the blue lines are. The blue lines can show a connection to someone. It can show somebody who knows what that person is doing. It is like, I see you and you see me and we know each other. And this is a person here that's in the third house. This is somebody in that rental property. It could also be someone who's online. Remember that the moon is the mother. Now, we have so much as far as themes that represent a mother in this case. We have mothers who have been in jail, mothers who have been on drugs, I guess home life that has been not positive for some of the victims. Not all of them, though. Some of them have wonderful families, but you are seeing that it's almost like at the top of that crime chart we have Black Moon Lilith and the Moon conjunct. And I've always said a bad mom. That was what the chart was showing us. So are we looking at somebody who could potentially be pregnant? And so this is showing two people in the seventh house here and trining the moon. So these are two people in the house um, that that were not part of that T squared. Were not part of that murder. So I think the moon in Aquarius, represents the surviving roommates. And you can see, you can just put the moon together with up here, this trines Jupiter in Gemini. It's almost like the twins. Now, not to say they look alike, but it could show that simply that there were two. And remember, when you have a trine with Jupiter, it can show you got lucky. So there could be some kind of luck involved here. But with Aquarius, there are squares to Uranus and to, let me see. You've got a square to Uranus, which is the neck. It's also addictions. And you have a square to Scorpio. So, it just looks like anybody in that house, which you could say is the rental. Okay. You could also say the neighborhood was in in a big shock. Lots of stuff in the fourth house of Pisces, though, too. So, so many secrets in that house. That would be Pisces. And it's interesting. You guys might have seen my Justin Bieber show and how we were talking about there's so much Pisces in his 11th house in his solar return this year. Well, sure enough, not that I mentioned this, but you could see Piscean themes. His friends are saying he's part of a cult now. So that's kind of coming true in his solar return chart. All right, I'm just going to show you this real quick. If you're interested in scheduling a personal reading, you can go to astrologywithval.as.me. I've got a couple of specials and I've got a mini reading that's available. So definitely check it out. And if you want to join this channel, you can just hit the join button and you can get extra content. So hope you can join us. And thank you so much to the new members who came in. You guys support us. So that's why I'm here. And that's why Amber is here too. All right. So oh, Susan, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me check up here. Yeah, Aquarius cuts. Yeah, what's wild is that everyone thought she wasn't supposed to be there, but she had her finals on that very Monday. That came, oh, you're talking about Kaylee. That came out as a slip in an earlier interview with the dad. Don't know why though. Yeah, that's a good one. Hmm. Angel, yes, Sun in Scorpio doesn't mean you're a psychopath, but it can mean very deep thoughts, deep research. Koberger was a researcher. He was very interested in psychology, but usually when you've got part of his equation, Black Moon Lilith, the Scorpio, the later degrees of Taurus, retrogrades. I mean, there's a whole thing that it's a whole formula that can point to just having those Plutonian feelings. It really depends on where your Pluto is. If you have a lot of planets or the sun in Scorpio. Hey, Sherry. Um, Glowy, I don't know. It's a possibility. Everybody wants to know, who could potentially have been pregnant. I don't think it's hard to say, but it's a big secret. There is a pregnancy secret. Uh, I know, Angel. Yes. Okay, Jen, you said, I feel like the pic sent a sign to someone, and I think BK likes it. He's saving it for his book about murder. Hmm. And oh, that's right, Shauna. And to me, where the video says I told Adam everything doesn't sound to me like that. Sue, you said it was said he took the photo for his mom. He was showing her he buttoned the top button of his shirt. Hmm. Yeah, I was thinking that too. A Niners girl, Snapchat messages. Catherine Ramsland, BK's forensic professor, right? Capitals on the Ram. Aries has red hair, and Ram equals Aries 7th house and Mars. Just wondering. That is really interesting. I wonder if we're going to hear from her. I wonder, maybe she has a secret. I don't know. Angel, you said, what represents dark web? Is there an onion on the chart? What represents dark web? That would be definitely third house types of things. It would depend what the third house was. If Neptune was aspecting it, which would be secret communications. Yeah, Bex, this destroying of the house shows cover-up vibes. I know, Chrissy Angel, thank you for paying attention. You've always spoken of a red-haired woman. I wonder who. Maybe Star Sleuth gave us an answer there. So you said, I don't think BK is guilty and feels like he's being set up. A lot of people think that. That's right. That boyfriend has red hair and the dog is so wild too. I know. Angel, right. You were telling me this the other day. Howard Bloom accidentally said Burger King instead of Jack in the Box in his novel. How crazy is that? And that's a clue. Shauna says Burger King. Oh my gosh, that auto business. What was that called? Where Kay got her car washed. That's weird, right? So many things that we've got to remind ourselves about. Yeah, so that card, that Empress card, that's going to come in somehow, I think. Natalie, you said, oh, interesting, because one of them always came out as the Empress in my readings. Hey, Beach Butterfly, nice to see you. Yeah. I know, Gibson. Nice to see everybody here. Okay. All the Gemini and the synchronicities. Yes. Okay. Angel, you said they needed to get forensic downloads of the survivors' phones. What were they deleting and why? Okay, you know what? That's a good question. What was being deleted from the forensic downloads? I mean, I don't know if there's any proof of that, but was there anything? Can you give us some kind of profile on what was deleted in some of these downloads of anybody involved in the crime? What's something significant that we need to know? The Hanged Man. And something Hangman reversed, though. Hangman reversed. So usually the Hanged Man is something that's it's like a waiting period. But the reversed, I'm not sure about the reversed. Natalie, maybe you can tell me that one. Or Star Sleuth. Yeah, I know, it's like a notepad full. Yeah, there's so much. I'm putting this up there again because the Gemini, it's crazy. And Gemini represents a thief. Okay, it was in the documents that they replied on forensic downloads, allegedly. Interesting. Oh, TJ's here. How are you doing, TJ? Okay. So anyway, I think with my horary here, it really looks like a huge, huge evil shock. And the sun is really in this T-square. Something is not able to go forward. But I mean, if we were looking at something that made somebody really mad, we would look at the fifth house. In any given time, if you're looking like as an example in your solar return chart, you would look to see if Mars was in like all these red lines in your solar return, that means you're going to be mad about something that year. So you look to the house where Aries is. And in the fifth house, that's a lover. It is a child. And so Mars is way up there. And God, I felt like kind of sick thinking about this. Mars in Leo is a child. It's like a boy. It's like a little boy. And there is a huge trine here with the fifth house Lord. It's like it disappears. Pisces disappears. It's a scandal. It is a scandal. Saturn is a scandal that lives for a very, 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 very long time. So very strange. Fifth house. So whatever made somebody angry, it had to do, I mean, it's in the eighth house of pregnancy. So we're seeing definitely some pregnancy type of signatures here. Okay, I hope you guys are okay with this. I'm going to take a look at the victims. Will we see in some of these reports that any of them might have been pregnant? Will we see in the coroner report? I think they might have. They probably would have said something by now, right, about that. But was one of the victims pregnant? Looks like yes. Page of Wands. And a clarifier card for the victims. looks like a celebration, a young girl celebrating. Maybe it was kind of like something that happened accidentally where she was in the midst of being happy and celebrating. But a clarifier card on a pregnancy, um, a report on coroner report. Will we see the coroner report and how it might mention pregnancy? Wow, look at that. Five of swords, somebody who's in big regret. If that were the case, though, see, the problem with this is you could get DNA. Um, could you possibly get DNA um, from someone who had a motive? From what the police had found, from the evidence of the victims, what they left behind, would there be any kind of evidence, DNA evidence from the pregnancy? Hanged man, it's kind of like it's not, there's no progress with it. It's kind of in limbo. So, I'm sure I mean, the investigators are good. They are good, even though the police, because of Mars in retrograde, shows that they're not at full capacity. But that's something that you would think they would look into. I mean, there's a checklist, right? When something like this happens. So we're going to be talking about quickly a midpoint. And there's a simple way to look at this, but I mean, the people who focus on midpoints, I mean, it's a discipline altogether. I mean, you've got to study a long time to really know the signatures of all the midpoints. So, and what is a midpoint? A midpoint marks the focal point at which the energies of two planets meet in a chart. So, if a third planet is conjunct this point, it receives these energies. So they all kind of converge together. So I thought that was really interesting when I saw the midpoint for the horary. And Uranus in the horary represents the roommates. And so we had Jupiter and the Sun conjunct Uranus, and that's right on Algol. It's in the sixth house, could be health, could be a health shock. But usually, the way I look at midpoints is I'm interested in what midpoints are hitting any given planet. So this is going to be the horary planet that represents um, the roommate. And so the Sun Jupiter connection represents people who have some kind of wealth. Now, it's not all of the roommates, but some of them come from well to do families. And so the Sun Jupiter midpoint is one of the luckiest of all the midpoints. It is an indicator for wealthy people and people of high social status. That's from oldsoulostrology.com. So thought I'd give them a shout out. And also in that horary chart at 27 degrees Aquarius, I think it's Gina, soar to great heights, potential of sudden downfall. So, of course, we saw that in here. Now, then that was just the horary. I just happened to see that there was a lot more in that chart, but my eye went to the Lord of the third house of roommate. Now I'm looking at the crime chart midpoint. And I mean, I can't even look at it without getting some serious chills here. But what we want to do when we're looking at a crime chart, and I mean, you might have your own method. But I like to look at the seventh house for the murderer. I look at the eighth house for the murderer's money. And I look at the ninth house, which is really the second house and third house, respectively, of the murder. So the third house is going to be what's on the murderer's mind. All right. So one thing that I'm looking at is the murderer's money, and look at how all of the midpoints are converging. And that usually means a powerful bit of energy right on Algol. So the devil's money, really. There's some financial stuff that's happening. So it totally makes sense that, maybe you have more than one person that knows something about this murder, before it happens. There's money that's involved. The eighth house is also pregnancy. It kind of like checks all the boxes. But Angel, like you said, there's some kind of lust involved. There's some kind of, I would also say, um, obsession. There's obsessions. So, so anyway, that's the murderer's money house. But we can also look at the murderer's mind. And so we want to look at Mercury, and Mercury is down here in the second house of money. And so Mercury and Venus, this is theft. This is a thief. So somebody who is either thinking about money, thinking about making money from a murder, Scorpio, um, this is definitely financially related from the crime chart. Now, you can also see there's a lot of midpoints too in the 11th house, and that's in Virgo. So, could be some kind of work element that maybe something has happened at work, but also quite a bit of 11th house is social media. Everybody's analyzing Virgo, all of the photos on social media. Black Moon Lilith is in there. This is just a lot of friends. This is a big network. Um, so I think the biggest thing though for me is all of that in Algol in the 8th house, the second house to the 7th. So, and then also, yeah, we have a Sun Uranus midpoint here, and that's conjunct Saturn in the 4th house. Now, Saturn rules the 4th house. This is the piece of real estate. And it could mean someone who is older here, and that's in the T square. I'm kind of seeing could it be an older man? I'm seeing um, hints of an older man in here that is really, really shocked about something, and not just the murders. What could this older man be shocked by? Something just extremely, overwhelmingly sad about something. Hey, Nacho Biz, nice to see you. Um, Rhode Island housewife, you said allegedly it was mentioned by Jeff in jail early on that it was meant to be a robbery. Interesting. You could see that second house. Hmm. Thank you, Gibson. Yeah, I mean, just a little off the top, we don't want to get too crazy here because it's very complicated. All of those midpoints have a special code for something. You're going to see that people, medical astrologers, actually use the midpoints to see different signatures for medical issues. But a really good book that I like, even though it's kind of complicated, I mean, you'll be reading it 10 minutes and you'll be asleep because it's just, I mean, I shouldn't say that because there's some really good stories in here, but it's called Working with Astrology. It's really good. You just kind of, you got to read one section at a time. Okay. Oh, that's awesome, Nacho Biz. Ballas inspired me to learn to read a chart and I can finally follow along. That's wonderful. And yeah, it's too much to sum up Nacho Biz because we've talked about quite a bit. Why are the roommates angry if they were? Just seems like a lot of emotions coming from a lot of different people. But what I did want to do is we're talking about this older man. Um, and we saw a clue when we were talking about Delphi about the older man, and that was the guy on the bridge. So there is someone, it seems, that could be Coburg because obviously he was older. Um, Tell us more about this profile. Oh my God. Hold on. Oh, there's a bunch that I just dropped. Hold on. This is going to be interesting. Okay, it's only 3. Let's see what we get here. Oh my God. This was just facing up at me. We get the devil. We've got 5 of wands and 10 of cups. So definitely looks like a happy family in here. Addictions, temptation, and then a lot of people competing. Yeah, I really think we're gonna hear something about a pregnancy, and I think that Kaylee's sister having a child, soon after the crimes, I think that was an omen. I think there was like, here's a little hint here. So, not saying that the victims were pregnant, just kind of a guess, but or any one of the victims were pregnant. Could have simply been something that's not related to the crime, but just had to ask that question. Okay. All right. So I thought I would just show that, just a little bit. Also, what's so interesting, Jupiter and moon means fame. And so you can see that that's right there on those last degrees. And I mean, mic drop here. What does algol mean? It means to lie. So there's definitely some people who are not telling all of the truth. And Mercury, we want to look at Mercury when it comes to the witnesses. And let me look at yeah. So, so here are the witnesses here, Mercury and Scorpio. These can be sexy witnesses. And so it's just this trine with Jupiter and Neptune. It's kind of like everybody knows this big secret. What is this big secret? Oh, there's a bunch of secrets, and it has to do with girls who look alike. With the Mercury in there, that's the twin, the sexy twins, Venus. But also, um, I've always said something about. I know they didn't have a basement, but the lower floor. So the secret on the lower floor. And so I'm just going to do a card for the secret on the lower floor. What was that? I guess you could say the first floor. Secret on the lower floor of the King Road house. We got the Queen of Wands again. And also have the Sun reversed again. So Sun reversed, that can be power. So loss of power by a woman. So I guess we're just going to have to think about, what that means. The Five of Wands to me is a rivalry as well, depending on the question, like a competition. Um, Thanks, Nacho Biz. I'm glad you reminded me. I am actually having a medical astrology class coming up. So if you're interested, I've got a few spots left. If you feel like, you're not feeling good or something happened to a loved one or something like that, it's a good class to take. It's the basics of medical astrology. And then also I'll look at your chart too. So I think there are 3 openings left, and that's going to be next week. So Jen, when the witnesses said they were dreaming, are they talking about mushrooms like dreamlike state? It's a good question. Um, if I'm not mistaken, both surviving girls immediately called their parents first thing in the morning, right? I totally believe that they might have fallen asleep, but it's hard to believe because with the adrenaline there. Um, so, yeah, the baby's middle name is Maddie K. Yes. Devil can be addictions. Exactly. Oh, thank you, Shauna. You're so sweet. Uh, Nacho Biz, you're like, well, is it a group or just Brian? I think there are quite a few people who knew about this. I think there's a chance that Brian could have done something that has to do with something valuable with money. So it makes me think that it could be something um, that is for hire. Natalie said, if I was the defense attorney, I'm asking them why they called them, and then I'm putting the parents on the stand also. Yeah, they were texting constantly. But at the same time, I mean, that was many hours before before the police actually came. So no, I'm not seeing anything. I mean, I think it's possible. There's definitely some paying there. Paying it, I mean, it's paying for sex in this chart. I mean, that's just what it says because of that Scorpio in the second house. So we'll have to see, and we will look at some more updates on the case and probably in the next couple of weeks. But thanks for joining me tonight, and I'll probably be on again sometime tomorrow. So I hope you can catch me then. Talk to you guys soon.